Whether you're thrusted into the spotlight and need to learn on the spot, you're picking up a new hobby, you're learning new binds, or you just suck at learning in the classroom, you need to cut that learning plateau down to almost nothing. The trick to doing this lies in the coin rule, where there are two sides to the same coin. So what are those sides? Well, first let's bring back that learning curve chart. This is called the diminishing returns learning curve, and it's boring, so let me just give you an example. Say you're picking up snowboarding for the first time, which is something that I've actually been doing, so this is an authentic example. You start learning on that bunny hill, which is flat terrain, so you improve pretty significantly to start. You now feel like the king of the world and every lady should be flocking towards you, exactly how I felt, right? So you move on to some steeper terrain and... Yep, then you fall on your ass 100 times, probably break something, and then all the ladies get the ick and leave. Phase is the plateau. You stall for quite some time because the next step up is harder to achieve. A wipeout on the bunny hill is easier to recover from, but a wipeout on a steep hill leaves a mark, it's harder to get up from, and you need to completely change your thought process about learning it. Same thing for, say, learning piano. You learn how to use your right hand to play simple songs, but then you stall hard when you need to incorporate your left hand. And then you're stuck thinking if you're literally mentally handicapped because you can't seem to do different things with different hands. Why is this so hard? But then something clicks. On a snowboard, you get comfortable putting your weight on that front foot and taking the plunge down the mountain. And miraculously, it works. You're no longer holding yourself back by fear. Or in piano, you mess up enough times where you're no longer afraid to hear the wrong note. Oh shit, nice. And by doing so, you've progressed through the learning curve and are on to that next phase of the curve, which is mass acceleration due to expertise being gained. But this chart doesn't seem accurate to me. It feels like it's missing some key aspects, and the biggest being what happens after the graph ends. Does it repeat, or does it nosedive into the depths of the ocean? And the other thing is, how long is the actual plateau supposed to be? Is it a week, or is it 3 years? Well, I think it can actually be both depending on what side of the coin you're looking at. So let's return back to the coin rule. There are two sides to the same coin, learning and memorization. So learning is the long one. This is actually taking the necessary steps to lock something in your brain and have it become second nature. And my advice to everyone watching is only truly learn fun things. And I'll cover what to do about unfun things in a second, but activities where you genuinely will put enough hours in it that it becomes second nature, you have to find fun. So let's go back to the snowboarding example again. It's difficult, it's dangerous, and it's expensive. There's not a whole lot of reasons to learn it and keep practicing if at the root of it, it's not fun for you. So here's my rule of thumb. If it's something that you are just imagining the end result of it being cool, but you don't find the actual process fun, then don't do it. That's how I decipher what activities I actually want to learn. For example, say I watch the X Games and I find the end goal of snowboarding to be cool, but I think the learning process of the monotonous bunny hills and falling on my ass isn't fun, then my learning plateau could last years. Like, think about it. Maybe you only try to go once or twice a season, and maybe you're not giving it your best effort while you're on the mountain, then you're absolutely cooked. But on the other hand, if you personally find the process of sliding a few feet down the hill to be more satisfying and outweigh the suckiness of every crash, then you're probably gonna have a lot of fun and learn it quicker. And same thing for a different example like guitar, which I'm also learning. Maybe you watch your favorite artist perform live and you think to yourself how cool it would be to perform in front of a live audience one day, so you try and teach yourself an instrument. Guitar is one of those things that not only is it difficult to learn, but also painful. When you begin, you don't have calluses on your fingertips yet, so it hurts to press the strings down. So you absolutely need to actually find fun in the activity to try and bear the 2 weeks or a month of the biological phase where your fingers literally need to adapt and grow an extra layer of skin. And I know I'm talking about hobbies right now, but it doesn't just apply to hobbies. I know a lot of people, for example, find coding to be really fun. You know, this is a job-related thing. It creates a program from scratch. It requires problem solving, debugging, and finally have it run. A lot of people find important things like that to be fun and satisfying. But what about things that you don't find fun? This is typically like the school quote-unquote learning you do. And for me, this isn't really learning. This is about memorization, which is the other side of the coin. Memorization is not learning because when the time comes, you forget it. It's something you lock in your brain for a test or a play, and then you lose it completely. And I think it's ironic that the idea of memorization is not actually to remember something again and again, but it's to recall it once and then probably lose it. So that's why I think on the learning curve, another section is needed after the fact for the nosedive into nothingness. Or maybe you just need a new curve altogether for the memorization curve. Because I do think the learning plateau that arises from actually learning doesn't apply to memorization at all. Memorization is about taking shortcuts, which speeds up that plateau infinitely with tricks like mnemonics. So, like I said, stop wasting your time learning, because everything isn't meant to be learned. Pick up the few things that you can invest hours and hours into because they're fun, and this makes sure you can chug through that plateau fast and don't keep putting it off, which may build into years. And then those other things, memorize them. This is good because you can skip that trial and error of failing in brute force because that takes time. So if you need to learn something quick, it's about memorization, because you can use tricks like mnemonics, which is the little songs or acronyms that you use to memorize it and put it in your brain. And then when that test is over or that project concludes, you can relieve your brain and forget it. And here is the best example of memory mnemonics working for me. And if you're curious how to do that masterfully and get straight A's or whatever you need, then click this video right here where I talk about those things and how they contributed to my academic comeback. And if you've enjoyed this style of video, please comment that you did, because I'm still experimenting with my editing. And of course, if the topic helped you too, then please invest in the channel to get in early, and of course use code reidtheninja or another small creator's code to help us out. And on that note, I am signing off.